Hello, how you doing? My name is Marcus Carey. Welcome to Open Security Concepts Free Software Fundamentals Part 2. In this lesson, we will be talking about the GNU Linux system management. In this lesson, we'll talk about GNU Linux file system hierarchy, basic commands, file permissions, pipes, and redirects. Now, the GNU file system hierarchy is often described as an upside down tree. The base of that tree is the root directory, and you can see here the root directory is always notated by the / Like many other Unix-like systems, the GNU system is very familiar, similar to the other file system hierarchies. Now, not every distribution is going to have all these same directories, but these are pretty standard. And my source for this is the file system hierarchy standard group. The root directory again is the base of the tree. From there you have the bin, which usually contains the user command binaries. You have the dev, which is your devices and special files. Now in Linux or GNU Linux, all system devices are treated as special files. So the whole Unix system, everything, even memory, is treated as a file. You also have your etc or etc directory. So the etc directory has host specific system configurations. So a lot of things that you want to configure, including IP addresses and DNS names, a lot of that stuff is contained in files under that etc directory. And then we have our home directory, and the home directory is usually where users, and I'm not talking about the root user or the admin user. What I'm talking about is users. Like if I created an account named Marcus, my account would be under that home user account. Okay, you have your proc, your sbin, which contains system binaries. You have your root directory. Now this root directory is the actual home directory of the root user. And also, particularly, I want to point out the var directory. The var has logs, messages, mails, and also cron jobs. Like I said, sometimes these may be different on different systems, but like I said, this is the source for this is the file system hierarchy standard group. Now I want to go over some basic commands. Now these commands, I believe that you're going to be using these the most if you touch Linux. Now this lesson isn't intended on being a Linux complete whole Linux course. Now throughout the whole curriculum here, you will be able to use a lot of different commands, and we will introduce you to more commands. Now these are what I deem as basic commands. You have your CD for changing directories, ls for listing files, pwd, it prints your working directory, or some people say present working directory. Your cp copies, mv moves files. If you want to move files from directory to directory, you can use the move command. Cat. Now the cat opens files and prints them to standard output. The standard output is your monitor. And the less command, it opens files to standard output with paging and scrolling functions. Sometimes the cat command will open up a big file and it's too much to take in at one time because it'll zip past the screen. So you'll use the less command to actually page and scroll through contents of text logs or text files. Now we have the head command, the tail command. These work very similar. The head command prints out the first 10 lines of a file. The tail command prints out the last 10. That's the head command and tail command. Kind of self-explanatory once you find out what it does. The which command, sometimes if you want to know if you have a binary loaded onto your system, you can type the which command. Like you can say which Perl, and it'll show you the location of Perl if you have it on your system. You have the make directory command, mkdir, and chmod, which goes to change file permissions. We'll be talking more about the change mod or chmod command in a little bit. Now, file permissions on the GNU Linux system are separated by 3 different subjects, that is user, group, and other, or all other to be proper. Now, you notice here we have these 3, we have 3 right here, 1, 2, 3 dots, 1, 2, 3 dashes, should I say, and 1, 2, 3 dashes. Now, if you look down here at your file permissions, this indicates that these permission sets, these 3 spaces, indicate what that subject can do, what the user can do, what the group can do, and what the other can do. Now, when we break it down a little bit further, and I'm going to highlight this read, write, execute down here, you have read, write, and you have execute. Now, if we talk about it in binary, if you place a 1 in this spot, you place a 1 in this spot, and you place a 1 in this spot binary, what you have is you have values 4, 2, and 1. So in this case, we said user is the first 3 letters here, so that will be equal to 7, because you'll add 4 plus 2 plus 1 equals 7. And right here in the second bit, the second 3 bits we have here, it says r-x. That means we add 4 plus 1, and the last one says dash dash x, so that means all other would just have executable permissions for this particular file if there was a file associated with these permissions. Now, in order to change permissions on a file called sample.txt, you could use the chmod command. And here at the bash prompt, the command chmod 751 was entered for the sample.txt file. Now, what that will do is that will change the permissions, like the previous slide where we broke it down. It would change it to rwx, r-x, and dash dash x. That's 751. The next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about pipes, and the next is redirects. Now, what the pipe character does is it takes the standard output from the previous command and it uses it as standard input to the next command. In this case, we discussed the cat command. What the cat command does is it prints out the contents of a file to standard output to your monitor. Well, you can actually use the pipe command, and this would say cat sample.txt, and it would print out this file sample.txt, and we could pipe that into any command we wanted to. In this case, we piped it into less, which gives us scrolling capabilities, like we said before. And I know this kind of defeats the point. We could just say less sample.txt, but this is to show you that all of the Linux commands, the GNU Linux commands, allow you to do this, where you can take the output of one command and use that as input to the next command. It works pretty well. Now, we're talking about redirects real quick. Now, standard output can be redirected to create or append a file. And when we do this, we use the greater than. It says the greater than creates a new file and overwrites any existing file with the same name. So be careful when you use a single greater than, because if you have content that you want to keep, if you do that, it will overwrite it. Now, in this case, if you have content that you want to create, you have content that you want to keep, what you would do is you would append that file by using the greater than greater than. The greater than creates a file if the file name doesn't exist, so it's actually kind of safe to always use greater than because you won't write over stuff, and it appends the file if it already exists. Now, right here you see ls, and we said greater than. That would create a file called sample.txt. Now, if there was a file that was previously named sample.txt, that file would have got overwritten. Now we use the pwd, which is for print working directory, and we use the greater than. So now we would have a file called sample.txt that this text file would contain the contents of the ls command, the output of it, and the output of the pwd command would be right after it. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. You can download this document at www.oiotdotorg. Thank you for listening, and please come back for more.